What up? What up? What up? Ibn Web, Quran, some here, official thanks thing I got going on here. Wow. As I've stated throughout a lot of these, if not all of them, man, like just how blessed I am and fortunate enough to just have an opportunity to connect with people that I know, heard of, or what have you here. This gentleman, Courtney, just another blessing just out of the blue here, East Orange guy, done a whole lot since growing up, family man and seen the world and done a lot of things here in regards to, his life or what have you here. So I'm looking forward to just getting him on, talking for a second or two, and we're just going to take it from there. Hold tight. Hey, what's up there?
How's it going?
Not bad, not bad. Everything good?
Yeah.
Nah, thank you for this again. Like I know we talked, prior to all. It's just this is like a blessing. I mean, as far as just doing this and having an opportunity just to meet any and everybody, whether it's from around the way or wherever is going. Like I said, this has been great, and you're one of these blessings in regards to just somebody that that came up from where we from and everything else here. So I just initially just wanted right out the door, just wanted to say thank you just for even taking some time out to just talk with me and to hear a little bit about your walk here. So I wanted to say that.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I know, like you said, I know we talked, so it's an honor to be here. So I appreciate it.
Good. Hopefully family, everybody's good, up and running here. I know it's still some crazy times out here. So hopefully everybody's safe, sound, and in good health here.
Yeah, everybody's doing good. Good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Hope to be with you as well.
Nah, most definitely not. Yes, thank you, Head. I know down south these days here, how's life down there for you?
Ooh, it's good. It's good. Mm-hmm. It's good. It can get a little crazy at times, but it's good.
Okay.
Georgia's been good. Atlanta's been good, so.
Now, how long you been down there now?
Since 98.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's been a minute. So I technically have been here longer than growing up in Jersey.
Yeah. So I don't know. They must they revoke your pass up in Jersey.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You know what I mean? I kind of just use it as on occasion. You know what I mean? So
nah, definitely. When needed.
Yeah, we need it. It kicks in pretty good.
Yeah. Let me take you up top a little bit here in regards to just you were from Jersey originally, or how'd you end up?
Born and raised East Orange General.
Okay. Central Ave, right off Central Ave there, right?
Off Central Ave. Grew up on Morton Place. Most people know either suburban cable, TV3, or gas station, the Chevron station on the corner right there on William Street, but Morton Place is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the backdrop right by Washington Terrace. So
okay.
Born and raised.
Only sibling, or you have some siblings?
I have all sisters. I'm the only boy.
Ooh, okay. It's pros and cons to that.
Yeah, it is. It should have been a spoiled brat boy, but daddy's girls. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah. I definitely understand that clearly here. Now, just growing up, I know everybody gonna say their childhood was normal here, but what was your normal like? How was you as a kid?
Good. I mean, I had hardworking parents. Let them tell that we was poor. We didn't see symbols of that. You know what I mean? But I had a good childhood. My mother was a beautician, and she bust her butt. 6 o'clock in the morning until 8, 9 at night sometimes. You know what I mean? And then she had a salon on Central Ave, and then they converted it into our house so that she could take care of us. While she was working. So our basement was a salon, our entire life. And then my father worked for Ford, so
okay,
they didn't even touching at the old plant. So
out there, but you mentioned that whole salon life. That's family coming in and out, whether it's blood related or not.
Yeah, definitely. I that's how I got my little hustle back in the day. I used to go to lunch and get everybody's lunch and run to the store and get tips from all the customers. So
you need that quarter juice money.
Yeah. Penny candy, all that good stuff.
That's right. Outside of making a couple of dollars, what other activities, anything you got yourself into growing up?
Well, I would say basically I was that kid that I was into kind of everything. I was the sci-fi kid. I was a comic book head.
Hmm.
And, back then we played everything.
Yes.
So, you played football, basketball, baseball around the way just because we did it. That's, even if you didn't like it, you still did it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So you got to, kind of a diverse, exposure to just a little bit of everything. And
Yes.
I kind of gravitated to just whatever. Like I was a guy who could hang with the nerds and hang with the athletes, you know what I'm saying, and all the cool people at school. So it just kind of, it's like an eclectic mix, so it was fun.
Hmm. But obviously, I'm thinking throughout life that served you well, though.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think you have an opportunity to get exposed to different things. Like now that you have kids, you think that way. Like we didn't think that way growing up.
Yes.
Now it's like I want to expose my kids to this. That they should get involved with that. It's like, I mean, they're grown now, but having kids, you think like that now. Being
Hmm.
exposed to things that you wouldn't, you know, not necessarily been accustomed to or been introduced to at that age and era.
Hmm.
So so it's cool.
Nah, most definitely. And I know as growing up here, you're starting to sprout a little bit here. So I'm sure you got pulled in some ways athletically. When did that start?
Um, well, my father's family is tall.
Okay.
Mother's family is average. They're like most of the men, my uncles and cousins on that side are like, they're probably like all average, maybe 6 feet at best. My father's people are all 6'5",
Mm.
taller, some. So that I took, so like they say height from the male side comes from the mother.
Hmm.
I was the exception to that because I was tall. So I started growing early. And like I said, by default, it was like, oh, you need to play ball, you need to play ball, you need to play ball. But we were doing it anyway.
Yes.
I didn't like it at first. And then I kind of started, getting better at it and started fooling around and I started to love it. So it just became a passion after that. So then I just dove all in.
Mhm.
So
And it's interesting you say that as far as with the basketball piece here. A lot of people I know I have talked to, and like the basketball players, usually a lot of them said football was like their first love here. But was basketball kind of your thing right from the beginning?
uh initially I would say I would say we all played football
Mhm.
around the way. If you know that part of East Orange, there's a old Jewish school. It's closed down now, but it was Joseph L. Sonnenschein right there, and it existed for years. So it was in the middle of my block. So we would go play there in the parking lot every day, like and they had like a almost like a little field attached to the school that's behind these apartments. So we would go play football over there every day. And initially, like you couldn't help it. Like I love football too, to this day. But as I started getting taller and started seeing certain things, then basketball, like I said, just became that one I love more than anything. Baseball a little, because we
Okay.
played that too, but basketball was it.
Now, organized wise, you remember when you first started playing organized basketball?
Yeah, it was probably about middle school, seventh
Hmm.
grade, and then they had, all kinds of, like, back then East Orange had a lot of structure in terms of like youth stuff. You go here to the Y or at middle school, or even in the park, there was like kind of little park leagues, little lads,
Hmm.
little lads was big. So we all did little lads, but it was just like it was always somebody convincing you or trying to bring you on to do something. So it's like, hey, let's do this, let's do that, or hey, let's little lads over here, you need to try out.
Yes.
There's always something going on. So it was exciting because it was like you want to see, you got to meet kids from other areas,
Hmm.
at that time. So it was a lot of fun. So yeah, about seventh grade though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned little lads, and then obviously you got the middle schools, everybody playing each other and all that. Like, how fun was it?
It was cool because,
Yeah.
you that competitive nature comes out, you
Hmm.
you territorial, your area, whatever part of town you grew up on, and you heard about certain kids sometimes, or you want to see if you were better or how you compared. So it was really a lot of fun. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it was work.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that kid was that good. So
Hmm.
so you had to get it in. So
Hmm.
But it just, I tell people now with the game now, it's messed up is the competitive nature is there in a different type of, semblance, but it's the park breeds competitive nature.
Yes.
Play ball in the park,
Mhm.
you have to wait, you know, 3-4 games to get on the court. By the time you get on the court, you're mad, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you don't want to lose. If you
Mhm.
lose, you got to wait 10 more games, So you wanted to make sure you bring it as soon as you got on the court.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Then so that's where you got that competitiveness from, just not wanting to get off the court.
Definitely, you didn't want it, especially because this is your free time. You might have been after school and you wait a couple games. Lights come on or whatever. You got we had to be home by the street lights by then. You know what I mean? So you get on and get a couple games in, you was happy. So but if you lost, it was like that was the walk of shame going home.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Don't let it be your fault that you had to turn over or you did something
Yeah,
to cause
yeah.
that
Just
L.
layup, all of that. Yeah. You don't want to do that.
Mhm. But even being in East Orange and even being on that side of town here, you kind of knew of the history of East Orange High School and
Mhm.
things that they've done here. Was it one of those things to always end up at East Orange High, or was it somewhere else you was going to go?
Actually, to be honest with you, with the history and nostalgia, I have more family that went to Scott.
Okay,
So, and where we lived, it was located where I could have went to either or.
okay.
But they didn't have technically a bad. We had an option on our block.
Mhm.
So I had kids that some of them went to Scott on my block, others went to East Orange. And obviously nostalgia with East Orange was big growing up because there was a family like 3 doors down from us of the Mobleys. And
Mhm.
it was a big thing. East Orange had big families back then,
Mhm.
9, 10, 12 kids each family, stuff like that. So the Mobleys were a huge family and a lot of them played football. And so we would go to their games because the youngest kid in their family was the same age as me.
Okay.
So I would go with him to see his older brothers play and things like that. So that's how I got into the whole, we're going to the basketball game, we're going to the football game, like we were doing that like at an early age. And then with my other cousins that played ball, I was doing that too. So I ended up going to the high just because it was 4 short blocks to walk as
Okay.
opposed to,
Mhm.
going down, to Scott. It was a longer walk. So that's the only reason I ended up at the high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you get there. Are you playing varsity? I mean, again, I know you got to earn your stripes here and there, but are you starting a regular traditional freshman
No,
JV thing, or are
no,
you playing varsity?
no, not from the gate. No,
Okay.
it wasn't even. I actually, to be honest, I went to Glen Ridge first because
How'd you end up there?
my mother was very, very big on education.
Okay.
So, we did some private school stuff beforehand or whatever, but then she got really, she wanted us to be kind of, have some culture and different interaction,
Mhm.
private schools like a lot structured, so it was cool, but a great experience actually. But so she had some friends that the old school. You lived in Glen Ridge.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
So what we would do was she was really interested in them, and then they found out that we actually paid to go there.
Interesting. You said I
Yeah,
know somebody else who paid to go
we
to
actually
Glen
paid to
Ridge.
go there
Huh.
because we were out of district.
Mhm.
So we went there, and it was like I said, for me, it was great because that was my first experience in dealing with white people and white kids on
Mhm.
a regular. So that was actually great for me, to be honest with you. So
Mhm.
I did that first, and then you kind of miss being around the way, and it was
Yeah.
different. So, but then the ball, like they were group one,
Mhm.
so the competition was okay, but it wasn't, at that time what you was trying to really play against because they had a nice structure and they were good. They actually, for Glen Ridge was good then. They had a guy named Don McCormick when
Okay.
the foreman for them, and they had a good team. They actually I think they played Orange one year. Or they played Scott. They played Scott on that Mike Brown team,
Mm.
and I think they lost by 1 or 2. It was a big thing. So, um, but that let me know. Okay, look, you know what? I want to be over here.
Okay.
I got to get back over here.
Mhm.
So basketball wise, I was arguing with my mom and
I'm
dad.
about to say you had to do some convincing.
Yeah, I was like, look, you know what? I know y'all want to do this, but I want to get back over here because, I'm trying to play ball somewhere, and end up convincing them to let me come back that way. So,
Mm-hmm.
so by that time, realized things are already in motion. You kind of know who your squad is, and
Yes.
they're hand picking guys, and guys are working their way. So with a kid, I don't know if you've done your homework because you're pretty good. Mark Gray was
Mm-hmm.
the same age as me, and he was really good. He ended up starting as a sophomore.
Okay.
And we had another gentleman by the name of Raheem Muhammad who was good. He was really, at my years, he was probably better than all of us. You know what I mean? He was
Okay.
really good. He ended up having some unfortunate situation with drugs that kind of messed him up. But he played. He ended up starting as a sophomore as well, not initially, but so you're doing the JV thing at that time, trying to figure it out, and then eventually I got moved up.
So you get back over to East Orange. You're playing, and you just talk about as far as moving, but as far as school wise, and you in East Orange, you're a teenager. I mean, just how we are. We all been teenagers. Everything coming at us every which way here. Like, you just recall like how you just maneuvering through, whether it's getting to school and everything else that kind of ties into being an adolescent.
Yeah, I mean, it's high school, so
Yeah.
you're coming across something different every day. Realize you're going to school with a bunch of kids that, like, a lot of at that time, most of the kids went to VLD,
Okay.
came to East Orange, so I didn't know those kids. So, and then you had kids from down the hill that you didn't go to school with either. So you had that influx of, so it was different. We're from up the hill, so to speak, and down the hill, so it's different mentality. There were fights every day,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I used to laugh because down the hill, they used to fight with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Let somebody from a bar way get into it with one of their people, and then the whole down the hill is ready to fight you.
Oh yeah. We'll figure out our mess later.
Yeah. So we had to deal with that, and then but I mean, you kind of learn to navigate and kind of find your niche and understand, because like it's still East Orange, and there was a lot going on back then.
Yes.
So you kind of have to figure out, okay, well, what am I really trying to do? You see people that have left, and at the time, like we where I lived on that side of time, Whitney Houston is from Dogtown.
Right.
So she was blowing, like, yo, they had something you could, like, I physically saw,
Yes.
You knew, like, okay, wait, she's from around the way, you know what I'm saying? She can sing, she's talented. She's out of here, you know what I mean? Like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff was going on back then. So
nah, because the reason I bring that up, because it's interesting, even that 1 year in Glen Ridge, it's a whole nother world when you go back home. And again, obviously you're 13, 14, 15 years old, interacting with, people from other races and socioeconomic backgrounds. And now you're going thrust back over to East Orange. But I'm thinking that's the environment you grew up in. So that adjustment might not have been too difficult if you grew up in Glen Ridge.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said before, it was great because it allowed me to see that had I not had that opportunity or experience, things might be a little different now too, because like I said, that was my first interaction with white people.
Yes.
And on a regular basis, so because East Orange is all Black. When I was a kid and we moved in our block, I remember this vividly. We were the fifth Black family on the block. There were white people there, but they started moving and gravitating, leaving out. So, by the time I was a freshman, the neighborhood was all Black. So that was, like I said, going to Glen Ridge, understanding, how to deal with it, learning. So
yes.
like you learn, because especially with all this stuff going on now, you kind of can see, how people think as opposed to, how they're taught to think, So it prepared you for life, you know.
Nah, definitely. These lessons we don't think about till later. Like, all right, I see how this got me thinking like this now here with the hoops. As far as you, are you back in East Orange?
Mhm.
Summertime, or you just playing playgrounds, or are you starting to play in
Playing
summer leagues
everywhere,
and all that? Okay,
everywhere.
oh,
You're doing 2, 3 things a day minimum.
okay,
You like the park. Nobody plays in the park now.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not on the level that we did. The park to me was everything.
Mm-hmm.
You you planned your day around where we hooping at
Mm-hmm.
today.
Yes.
And so once you like for me, I grew up and we played at Sauber Park every day. And you know, once you got older, you could stay out. And we were there till the lights went off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you interview other people that are from the area, so you know that was they had the A court and the B court.
Yes.
You had to work your way up to the A court, and that was definitely true. And I remember the only reason I got on the A court one time, I had a cousin that was good, and he had played with Scott,
Mm-hmm.
and he came to mess with me one day, and they're picking teams, and everybody knew him because he was good, And so, yeah, get my cousin, and that's how I got on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with my friends, and we would go to the B court, like it was just the B line to the B court. You know what I mean? Like we would go watch, but we couldn't get on the court. And then they got me on. So my friends looked like, wow, he's on the A court. He's on the A court. And I was just happy to be there, So
Yeah.
from that point on, I was able to get on the A court. I was get my other boys on too, So that's how it started. And then once you started getting better, because you didn't really train back then, but you would do certain things,
Mm-hmm.
to get better. And people taught you how to play. You had older guys around the way, guys that you looked up to. And then by the time you start sprouting and getting better, you end up being better than them
Yes.
because they would beat up on you, to the point where you walked on the court mad sometimes just because, you had to overcome that,
Mm-hmm.
So once you were able to do it and do it convincingly, it started sparking that competitive nature again, So it was fun. But like to really answer your question, we played in summer leagues. There was Elmwood,
Mm-hmm.
there was even leagues at Sava at that time,
Okay.
Um, we play at there was East Orange Y. There was stuff going on. Further stuff like in the Newark, Branchbrook,
Okay.
Weequahic Park had stuff like that too. Where, that was a challenge too because we weren't from Newark,
Mm.
and nobody from Newark likes East Orange and vice versa. You know how that go. So that was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Orange had a lot going on too. There was a lot going on in Orange back then. So we just whatever we would park hop. That was the big thing. We would go to Sarville once I started driving or somebody else was driving.
Mm-hmm.
With Sarville, we did a lot of like there's a playground that's still there, Memorial Playground in Maplewood. Huge. Like 2 courts there, down the street from Seton Hall, on Scotland Road.
Yeah.
And we would get it on there. It was probably the best run ever. And everybody came from everywhere to play there. We would go there, we would go to Hillside, Central Playground in Hillside. Huge. They were the first park I remember to have collapsible rims.
Yeah.
Because that's how good it was, So we go there and then we play in leagues, like I said, Branchbrook,
Mm-hmm.
and little stuff here and there, wherever you could find some Jersey Shore, you know what I mean? Like
Okay.
we find something like that, we were there,
When you start realizing you're doing all this, I mean, again, playing and various courts, like you start realizing, wait, I'm starting to get kind of good at this here. Well, when you start playing varsity, as far as getting playing time and starting there.
So junior year,
Okay.
really the year, and
Okay.
then we you start playing at a level where it's survival of the fittest, really, because coaches like to see talent in the gym.
Yes.
They like to see that. So even if they pigeonhole you to a certain, well, this guy can only do this or that, they still want to see you be the best at that,
Mm-hmm.
So You know, you're playing with these guys every day,
Yeah.
either in the park or someplace else. So after a while, you get to know who's who and what they can and can't do. So it's easy, and that's the way I thought. Some people
Hmm.
went out there and played, but I had to do a lot of the like the dirty work,
Okay.
like like that's when coaches used to strategize. So like if you were like, for me, if you're good and the other person that you're guarding is good, then you want to guard each other. That's the part.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm not coach. Well, I don't want to get this dude in foul trouble, so let me put somebody else on him so that
Hmm.
he can do him and stay out of trouble. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then and then if you foul out, it's just okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of that started back then. So
Okay.
I ended up having to do a lot of dirty work back then. So
Hmm.
I embraced it. So it was like, defensively, you always look for a challenge. If you like,
Hmm.
for me, it's anybody can put the ball in the hole, but defensively, it's can I shut this person down?
Right.
Can I
Hmm.
stop him from scoring? Can I rebound him? Can I whatever? So
Hmm.
that's that to me is basketball. You got to be a two-way guy these days.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and then even you playing and talking about some of the roles that you play, but just being on them teams, and whether it's the county tournament, state tournaments, or just regular season, like
Mhm.
you guys are just playing who's who, and obviously you guys were targets too, so y'all had to come every night, pretty much.
Every night, every night. Yeah, he starts with all that historic nostalgia and great teams back in the day. That's all they talked about every time you pretty much walked in the gym, and a
Hmm.
lot of the old players came back to watch games and they're very supportive. So the community was supportive back then. So you had a lot to live up to. And like you said, you walk in the gym, there definitely is a target on your back. I mean, we had a lot of fight situations,
Yeah.
just away games, but it was probably good basketball when you think about it now. Like, it was fun, but wasn't fun then.
Hmm. Hmm.
Going through it. But
Yeah.
uh, he started like there's a lot of pride,
Yes.
back then. And like I said, there was a lot of families, everybody knew each other, so it was different. And you're trying to carve your own niche into
Hmm.
that whole book of history.
Hmm.
So it's tough too, because there's a lot to live up to, because they were, all the you know, teams back in the '70s won state championships,
Hmm.
and we had a lot of talent, but what ended up happening was the entire county got good.
Yes.
So by the time, like, maybe back then, I know the Big Ten was good.
Hmm.
The conferences that was established then, that they, Montclair, Bloomfield, they were all good teams.
Hmm.
By the time we got, to high school, then everybody was good too.
Yeah.
So they dissolved the Big Ten, but a lot of those schools like Scott, Orange, Columbia, Seton Hall Prep,
Hmm.
Montclair, Irvington, my
Hmm.
years, everybody was good.
Hmm.
So it kind of made, one big mosh pit of competitive basketball.
Nah, definitely. And in regards to wanting to play at the next level, when did that, as far as on a college level, when did that start? You start thinking about that stuff.
You got like a peak level of interest because everybody was coming to recruit. You were
Hmm.
little Big East, so a lot,
Hmm.
a lot of the Big East schools came back then, and recruited, um, just everybody. You know,
Yes.
there was a realized Seton Hall being 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away. They were the bottom of the Big East back then, but they still recruited everybody, and they literally, were part of the Big East, which was everything at that time.
Yeah.
So that was like Big Monday. You
Hmm.
you live for Big Monday,
Hmm.
for those
That's right.
games. A lot of the kids, they're recruiting big metropolitan area kids, New York City, Boston, Philly, DC. That was the focal point. So you just start to see it. Like you might have played against somebody who was playing already,
Hmm.
So you start to think like, okay, well, shoot, I'm just as good as him, or maybe you're not, but you played against him.
Yes.
So just seeing that gives you aspirations of trying to play at the next level, stuff like that.
Yeah. What schools were you looking at?
Back then, back then, especially with me, you just happy to be recruited.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If a school seeing home made calls, it's interesting, but they were looking at, bigger players. They were trying to get out of that, so it was cool. They had a lot of like what we call now mid-major offers, And one of the things I regret that I didn't do is there was an opportunity to go to the University of Miami at the time, and they were starting their program over again in basketball.
Okay.
I probably should have did it, And I got caught up with the recruiting thing. For me was really crazy because, I wanted to go to school to play ball, and I wanted to, exercise that opportunity. And then I had some other stuff going on. So it was kind of like, do I really want to do this? Do I want to focus on this? And, it's like, it's a lot. And then when there's no blueprint for
right.
Your parents for, college, yeah, they'll come and offer you a scholarship, but there's no, should you go to this school and why and why not? Stuff that I do now for parents, for having run a scouting service. Like I know what you need to know, because that's the business, and I've been involved in it for a number of years. So it's easier to help people make decisions where you can go to them and say, here's your why, here's your why not, here's what I think personally, but ultimately it's your decision, So just having that, is easier where you're talking about 1985, 86, where your parents like, all right, what do you think? Go ahead and go sign, you know what I mean? Like that. So it's different, so it's like, if you don't know what you need to know, because obviously there's thousands of people that went on and gone to college and things like that, but I guarantee if you talk to them now, they'd probably be like, well, I could have went here, or I should have did this, or I was forced to go there. Like you'll hear the back end of the story.
Yes,
you've had it in some of your interviews. So
right. How'd you make your decision?
Well, it was forced for me. So I ended up not playing ball. So that was the thing. I ended up going to school in Manhattan, and I just ended up like, okay, Sarah, and started focusing on life.
Yeah. Well, interesting enough though, things always seem to come back here. And again, not to jump a little bit, but just talking about the stuff that you're doing now. But while in school, I'm sure you still around it. You were still around the sport and everything else, and you in the city and everything else that comes with being in the city here, being a young man and having some fun and everything else here. So, but still, obviously, sports and particularly basketball has never left you.
Yeah, nah. I was, like I was telling you before, I was the original. Once I fell in love with it, I was the original junkie. I literally, probably to this day, I think I just stopped, but I used to, the basketball publications would come out in October of every year. And they talked about what happened in the summer. So like all the evaluations were done at 5-star, which I attended, and all that stuff. But I would wait till October to get all the publications and just like read everything cover to cover. So I knew who's who and what's what, who was good where. And I did that for a long time, to the point where I was able to turn into, even when I got to the working world after I finished school, I always was gravitated to it.
Okay.
I would still, okay, there's this kid from wherever, he's 6'8", he can do this, he can do that, and study the background and understand him, and it just became really easy. So I started really just from knowing basketball, being able to evaluate talent on a high level. So I would read a lot of the publications, but I was attending the same events. So at that time, if you remember, Nike Camp started, it was at Princeton.
Yes.
So that's 40 minutes from the crib. So every year I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then to the point where after Sonny Vaccaro left and went to work for Adidas, they started having, they moved camps around. Wherever the camps were at, I went. I got to see who's who, firsthand. And so, it was exciting. It was a lot of fun. And so what I learned was that, okay, there were a lot of guys that were quote unquote basketball experts like Van Coleman and Bob Gibbons and Tom Kachowski, obviously. There was a number of these guys, but there weren't a lot of black guys doing this. There wasn't anyone of color, so to speak. And so I started my own scouting service, just understanding, and try to put a little different touch on it. So first I was just a black guy at the media table. Who are you? What are you doing here? That routine, but so when you get involved and you start evaluating, I went out and I met, AAU coach upon AAU coach, college coach. Back then we call them the renegade days because you go to an event and colleges are right there on the same, sitting next to you, next to parents and everything. You could do that back then, So you're there watching games, and actually college coaches could take you out at that time. They could entertain you because they wanted to get insight on who they were recruiting. So if you had a relationship or you were an AAU coach, you were playing your game. You had a squad full of high major Division I prospects. And every coach is standing there trying to get numbers and information after the game. It's like, okay, where we eating? That's what you were doing. So it was a lot of fun. So they would entertain you for your services, and it was easy. But after I built a name, just being able to evaluate talent and sending out information, the internet started to pop up, and the focus. We went online for a little bit. I had Full Court magazine, and so we did scouting reports. We were who's who. I was the guy who ranked kids early on. So back then you had a rule where you ranked juniors and seniors. Occasionally you talked about sophomores. I broke the mold with all that. I started going younger, freshman, 8th grade, to where it's the monotonous that you see now. Like, he's the best third grader. I can truly take credit for all of that. I was the first person on record to rank and rate Sean Livingston as a 6th grader. So I started doing stuff, started working with Slam Magazine, started working with any little pop-up website that had something and they wanted some official quotes or quote unquote guru's perspective, started doing all of that. And like I said, I built a name, reputation with colleges, and college coaches. So it was a lot of fun too. And it was, it still kept me close to the game. And that's just how I got involved with a lot of stuff that I do now. So.
Can I ask even a couple twofolds? One was in regards to just breaking the mold as far as looking at the younger talent, what have you. What do you say to those that frowned on stuff like that? Like, hey, this kid is too young to be getting looked at in these rankings or what have you. Because you might have son that be like, you know what, let him or her grow and let them develop more versus trying to put a number on them or, or ranking on them at that age here. What would you say to that?
No, that's a great question. So here's the bottom line when it comes to evaluating talent, which is a big misconception. You have to be able to do it. And a lot of people claim they can do it just because they see the ball go through the hoop or, he dunked on somebody, or he shoot a three, but that doesn't break it. When college coaches recruit a kid, the first question they ask you is, can he play at this level? Which is big. He might be good, but can he play here? In this particular school or this particular conference, So when you're looking at a kid who's young, what you see is potential and skill set. So when I saw Sean Livingston for the first time, and I still have videotapes to this day.
Mm. The VHSs?
Yeah, the VHSs, I still have it. There's a funny story behind that. But when I saw him, the people that brought me Sean Livingston, I was living in Chicago at the time, and they would come to all these events and they would harass me literally. Like, yo, because at that time Slam had did a feature on this kid named Cliffy Clinksdale, who was a kid from Queens who was really good at a young age, and he was being promoted as such, you know what I'm saying? He didn't really pan out. But so in their mind, because I was doing stuff for Slam, you know, Sean needed his just due as well, you know what I'm saying? So they were on me, and I wouldn't give them time there at the first, you know. I was like, I mean, they every time I was at an event, they were just, yo, you know,
yeah,
you need to do Sean, you need to do Sean. So they sent me this tape, and I had this tape on my desk for a couple of months. I never looked at it, you know. And then one day I looked at it and I couldn't believe what I saw on tape. I was like his handle was really good, his vision was unbelievable, you know, and his you know, just his whole presence was different, you know. And I called them immediately. I was like, yo, like, where's this kid at? You know, like, I gotta see. And they're like, look, we coming to Chicago this weekend. You come check us out. I literally carved out the time, went to go see the kid, and it was him. I'll never forget, it was him and a bunch of kids on the team, and they weren't really that good. They were playing another team that was okay. And he threw a 3/4 court bounce pass to a kid that probably wouldn't be able to catch this pass for like 3 years. And I said, wow, I said, that's amazing, you know, like just looking at it. So if you understand basketball and you can see certain things and you promote it, like you asked your question, yeah, you don't want to be the giant killer in terms of pumping them up, because that's what happens with a lot of these kids. A lot of them get pumped up and then they don't develop any further, or, you know, they just pan out and peak at a certain level. You know, you kind of have to see, because, you know, it's still really hit or miss, you know.
Yes.
So it's still hit or miss. But what you want to do is you just want to have more hits than misses, you know. And when you evaluate talent, you know, you have to be able to say, okay, well, this is good. Like, I can tell you now, which is funny. So back then, I could call a college about a kid, and they would take the kid sight unseen, okay, because it was my word.
Based off you, yeah.
I would, you know, so they would, no problem. Hey, you say you can play, that's all we need to hear. Now you have more footage, more opportunity to see a kid before you even leave where you're at. You know, whether it's crossover or huddle or, you know, an ESPN game, you know, where you can see these kids on a regular basis. And college coaches are like, we need to see him live, or we need to check him out. We need to see him in person. You know, like it's hilarious to me, because, you know, you've got more footage where you never have to leave and evaluate a guy. So that's a funny thing. But yeah, we did it. We broke all those rules, and, you know, some of it, you know, there's probably some, like I said, misses from back in the day that you know, you can equate to, but, you know, there's a lot of kids that were really good at an early age that panned out to be like, we ran a camp called Phenom, Junior All-American Camp. And I could tell you that we had, the first camp we did, they were all 8th grade kids, but we had 20 of the 24 McDonald's All-Americans as 8th graders. So I think we did a pretty good job, you know.
No, that's a nice percentage. But the second fold with that question, it was, is there any like secret sauce that goes into how you evaluated talent here?
Another good question.
I mean, you don't have to give it away, but I just thought I'd ask.
No, it's no secret. Like,
okay.
I tell people this. You can tell everything from the kid in the layup line. It's kind of weird, but if you're familiar with 3-on-2, 2-on-1 basketball drill, right?
Yes.
All right, that's the best drill in the world to figure out what you're working with, because it involves decision making. You see how fast kids run. You see when they can shoot, how they finish. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, and then you can see how they are defensively, because the way we run it is uh the 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 defender has to always run back. So if you're in the middle, if you're part of the two, one of you guys have to run back. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So if you're that guy and you've got to guard two people coming back on the 2-on-1, you get to see what they're made of. You know what I mean? So a
Yeah.
lot of people like if you watch it even to this day, you'll have kids go to the same lines. And I'm like, no, you have to rotate each line.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Now
Mhm.
make or start behind the line or wait till the ball goes through the hoop. But in watching that, you can kind of see what you're working with. And in the layup line, you see kids, you see how they jump, how they run, how they shoot, you know, um, how they dribble the ball. You can see all of that in the layup line. So now it's okay. I just need to see structure. So like we used to evaluate a kid where I would like to see them like in the summer in the AAU circuit or in the high school environment. Like that was like a must. So I could
Okay.
see you how you are under your coach structure, and then how you play with other talented people. But to me, the secret sauce is the layup line.
Mhm.
If you can see everything that you need to see in the
Mhm.
layup line,
Mhm.
you can't. I mean, kind of because like I'm a true position guy,
Okay.
so I feel like rankings should be done like this is the best point guard in America. Okay. And this is the best two guard. This is the best three. This is the best four. This is the best five. And that's your first five. And so your next five should be this is the second best, this is the second best, whatever, whatever, right? Most people don't do it. They do, regardless of class or regardless of height, and you'll have 2 6'9s and a 7-footer. They don't care because that to me is not a team. It's just a bunch of all stars, which technically is what the NBA is about now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
super teams, and let's just throw the guys out there, go 5 out, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Now,
yeah.
outside of starting obviously your own business here, was Slam the first publication outside of your own thing that you started working for?
Slam was the first, and I
Okay.
did. There was a time there was another publication. Um, well, you're familiar with Source Magazine, the rap.
Yes.
They
Yes.
had a Source Sports
Hmm.
for a time frame, and I did actually. That was actually the first.
Okay.
We did
Okay.
a couple of different articles for them. Uh,
Hmm.
so we were big. They were trying to get involved in the compete with Slam basically at
Yeah.
the time. But it was a lot of fun then too, and
Hmm.
just a lot of one sheets,
Okay.
1,000 words, 500 words. But
Hmm.
so that was it, and then like little stuff like I was trying to. Hoop Scoop was big with Clark Francis, and he
Hmm.
had a lot of regional guys
Hmm.
that worked with him forever. But like a lot of me getting involved was going down to like Nike camp and actually seeing the same talent that they saw
Okay.
and disputing what I thought was right or wrong
Hmm.
based on these guys were the gurus. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I had to be
How'd
like,
that hold up as far as trying to correct the so-called gurus? I'm sure that didn't go over well.
not initially, no, it didn't. And then we no, we would get into like at events like that back then. We used to have like this roundtable guru session after, like you might go to like Nike camp and
Hmm.
it's 4 days. Well, each night the writers and scouts got together and
Okay.
had dinner, you
Hmm.
know, and they would, we just beef like, oh, this one's better than that one, or this one, and I'm like, oh, you're crazy, So like a lot of that will come out then. But I remember having arguments with just who's number one or, you know, who's better than who. Like to be the consensus number one player in the country is really hard sometimes,
Yeah.
because there's always a difference of opinion, and there is a number of factors that go involved with that. Like you people argue today about LeBron and Michael Jordan all day.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
the age-old argument right now. And it's to me, you have to establish criteria, you know.
Hmm.
And once you
Yes.
establish the criteria, then it makes it easier to have the argument. So if I have a guy who I feel like has never played basketball, and not saying that he can't learn and become an expert in a certain way, because that's more than possible. But if you never played basketball, but you're evaluating talent at a high level, that you have to be kind of special to me, and to have a full understanding. But if you never played, then that to me kind of taints the whole, or defeats the purpose of you being a basketball evaluator.
Now let me ask in regard. Interesting you say that. So as far as somebody that never played, period, or played up to a certain level, or what?
Well, good. Yeah, like I'm not saying that you can't do it. Let me
okay.
So I'm saying if I look at a guy and I know he's never played basketball.
Okay.
Right. But he's been around it all his life, maybe as an assistant coach or whatever. Yeah, then he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's been around it, Whereas you have other people who just jump into it.
Yeah.
And they've never played. Like I'm not just if you're like a seasoned writer, like you've been trained to write.
Right.
And you learn the game, as it comes along. You know what I mean? So you take like a Stephen A. Smith who will tell you, hey, I played basketball at Winston-Salem. I'm from Queens. So he talks about basketball, he has an opinion, and that's really what it is. It's an opinion. So now there's other people who've never played basketball and they still have an opinion, and then their opinion will then at that time, equate to, okay, whether they really know basketball or not.
Yes.
Like a lot of times you'll see statements and I'm looking, I said, well, what are they talking about? What do they mean by that? And to me, it comes back to the structure of, how they train or how they know basketball or any sport for that matter. So it's always an argument.
Oh, no, definitely. And I look at, I kind of parallel that. So I'm gonna just talk about music for a hot second. As far as DJing, everybody's a damn DJ now because it's so easy to just do.
Right, so easy to do, right.
Versus those carrying them crates back when and really knowing the art of DJing and what it takes now. But again, little Johnny from down the street is all of a sudden is a DJ. So I get that's kind of the comparison.
You're not a DJ unless you can play vinyl. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what it is to put more hundreds on and play vinyl and understand blends and so it's totally different.
Definitely.
We have that argument. That's the barbershop argument every day. It's who are you or why what gives you the authority? And it's just the ongoing argument.
Oh yeah. Now you doing all of this and you got a family. I like the traveling and all this stuff here. Like, how are you juggling all this?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was working a corporate job at one time. I was working for DuPont. Like I was always working and then doing this. Then I decided not to work, which didn't go over well, not with the wife, and then you have kids and then it becomes, the transition has been crazy because it's like there's a lot of good and bad with it. You make sacrifices and you get because like so let's go here. So you're in the corporate world, you come out of the corporate world, you decide you want to do this full time. Money's just okay. It's not great. Then it gets better. So you may stair step a kid. You run a scouting service, and parents lean on you for everything at that point. This is a different world now. So, like I told you, for me, it was no blueprint. Now it's AAU and picking a college, picking a high school. So you help a family where they might be going to East Orange High. That time, I'm gonna use that example. Well, now East Orange High is not that good. So, for me to better my chances to get a better opportunity, I have to go someplace bigger and better. So that, to some degree, growing up was Seton Hall Prep. Because better opportunities. Now that would have been even a Seton Hall or St. Anthony's, back then. Now you're Montverde, Oak Hill,
Yes.
Sierra Canyon, wherever, you feel like you can better your opportunities. So you're not even thinking about going to the high school that you're zoned to go to.
Mhm.
That's an afterthought. So back then, parents would come to me and say, "Hey, we're thinking about going to this high school. We're thinking about going to that high school. What do you think?" So you give them, the best advice you give them at the time. So that works out. It's great. Works out for the kid. Now the kid is good. He's good already. Now every college in the country wants him based on that high school choice and him being who he is.
Mhm.
So now they come, "Hey, coach, we really need your help. We're trying to pick a college." And you go through that routine,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing all over. And mind you already know all the college coaches too. So now they're leaning on you like, "Hey, help me out. Let's do this. Let's do that. I need this one," so you go back and forth. So now that's working, well, then the agents get involved.
Yes.
So the agents are like, "Okay, hey, I need a guy like you on my staff. You've got great relationships. You're this, that, and that." So that's when life got a little bit better because I started working in the agent world a little bit.
Okay.
And it was easy because you already had the relationships. So,
Mhm.
so it realized if I know every AAU coach and I know every college coach, you know what I mean, and I'm learning to get to know the kids because the scouting service it's like a win.
Mhm.
Then you get to the shady side of all of that with the businesses because the agent business is probably the most brutal, corrupt,
Yeah.
dog to dog situation there can be, So
Mhm.
it's just ugly, and it's because it's just, well, let me use you for who you are and then get you out the way.
Mhm.
Because I want to be the guy, I've got to be the guy, and then the families they turn on you too. You may have helped them, and not that they have this undying loyalty to you, but you stair step them, and
Right.
then you might say, "Okay, well, sit down, talk to this guy or this agent, and see how you feel." And if you have a right as a family, hey, if I don't like that guy, I don't need to sign with him or go with him. But now the agent's mad at you because they didn't sign, and
Mhm.
they've exhausted resources or whatever, or they just feel like, hey, you should have had it locked up because you have a relationship, where how folks are if they think that you're going to get something off them, they're out the door, So
Right.
that's how most people think and operate. And then you have kids that turn on their own parents.
Crazy. Yeah.
Right. So it's like you never know. Each case is an individual case. So once you navigate that and understand how it's again what's sad, but it's hit or miss.
Mhm.
So life can be good, and then you really try to streamline it and get involved. So I got involved and still, like I said, I was still working, doing project work here and there, and got heavily involved in marketing, consulting,
Mhm.
um, just doing stuff because I had access to athletes
Mhm.
and great relationships. And then coming from where I'm coming from, realized that you start out with I went to school with Naughty by Nature and Queen Latifah,
Mhm. Mhm.
like that. I started working, doing different things. Like I said, I was in the corporate world. So, when you're working in marketing, it allows you to have access to certain things. And when the business became a little bit more urban, it was easy to tie two people together just because you knew them.
Mhm.
Because every athlete wants to be an entertainer.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Every entertainer wants to be an athlete. So it's
Mhm.
sad, but it still
Mhm.
exists to this day. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
stop. So Drake plays basketball. You know what I mean? He wants to let you know he's got the court in his house, and he invites NBA players to play with him. You know what I'm saying? They love that. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
nonstop.
Mhm.
You'll have Dame Lillard. He's a rapper.
Mhm.
You take it seriously as a rapper, so it just doesn't stop. So it's like if you see that, so you're able to carve a little niche here and there. I worked a lot with Bad Boy Records. I did a lot with a group called Omnicom,
Okay.
which is the largest marketing and advertising firm in the world.
Mm.
So we've done a lot with that, but just to like be around it, you kind of can just see certain things. So I said, like, just early on, you know, it has its ups and downs.
Hmm.
I broke out, it wasn't good.
Hmm.
It was good for a while, then it got bad, you know, then it got good again. So it's, you know, it's like I said, it's really just something that, you know, it was really a leap of faith,
No,
and you had to make it work so that it works for you to this day. So,
no,
so
that's great. And I think even that leap of faith, to your point, here, is going to work. There's going to be some highs and lows here. Now, all the stuff that you done, knowledge and experience and all that, how did you decide? It's not just your decision, obviously, it's the wife's as well too. But as far as with your kids, when they wanted to get in this athletic, maybe entertainment, where how did you all this stuff just work for them?
nah, that was easy.
Okay, okay,
Because now I have the blueprint.
got you.
So it's easier because my daughter was athletic. I was athletic. So I think my wife was athletic. So I think it was in the genes. So she ran track. She was really good. She was all state here in Georgia. Had some track opportunities. She decided she didn't want to run track. You know,
Hmm.
a lot like me, it was different. Um, but she went to school and but she probably should have ran track in school. But she's just like, yo, she's like, that is all work. You know,
The
it's not fun.
commitment, the commitment, yeah.
It's just like she was like I said, her name is all her state records are like plastered at the high school that she went to. You know, so
Hmm.
that was cool. Um, my son was basketball day one.
Okay,
He was he was he was young, and I've always coached AAU ball too.
okay.
So he was around me then,
Hmm.
and he just would be in the gym. And you know, like any dad, you go get the football, basketball, and baseball, and you let them, you know, fool around, see what's what. And then I remember buying the 6-foot goal that they had for the little kids. At the time, our basement was unfinished,
Hmm.
and he'd just be down there bouncing the ball,
Okay.
you know, and he was just bouncing the ball. He'd come home from school, like, gotta go practice, gotta go practice. You're 5, you know, I'm like, what are you talking about? You
Yes,
know,
yes.
like, I gotta go practice, you know. So he loved it. So I ended up coaching him. But as a parent, I know exactly what to do.
Yes.
But we went from like him practicing to I realized, okay, he had some talent. And then he just kept getting better, you know.
Hmm.
And then he in the little rec league that we had, he was like 5. I think he's even no, he was actually 4. And the rules allow you to come in at 5, 6. I kind of snuck him in,
Hmm.
and when they realized, you know, he could play, and they're like, okay, don't worry about it. We know he's 4, so it's cool. So he played up his entire career until about when it just like physically, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
like around 8th grade, his body hadn't developed like that yet. So I was just like, yeah, I don't want you to get beat up, get hurt out here. So I let him play with his age group, like at that point in time. But he came up with a good group of kids that are all play Division I ball. Um,
Hmm.
some of them, all of them are either playing uh, somewhere like overseas now, or but they all went to Division I schools and
Hmm.
you know making a career. So he, like I said, I had the blueprint, so I was able to get him to a good high school situation,
Yes.
which allowed him to be able to go to Duke
Hmm.
and then to get on the floor at Duke, obviously through his hard work. And
Yes.
so that was a big thing. Very proud of that. Um, and he, you know, he's a working model for a lot of people who are not the quote unquote top 5 in the country.
Yeah.
He was. This is interesting because he a lot of people thought he was a walk on initially, and
Hmm.
he was, recruited to be a practice player, which wasn't true,
Hmm. Hmm.
We almost didn't go because I was like, yo, if you want him just to be a practice player, this is not going to work.
Right. Right.
I'm letting you know, like I'm giving you
Nah,
that.
nah, nah, nah. We compete around here.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just letting you know. And they were like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then
Hmm.
like the first month he was there, I would say, I was getting calls like, yo, like he did this and he did that, and he's competing with this. And
Hmm.
like his team never loses. We switch team and his team never loses,
Mm.
They were good things, but it's tough. You're at Duke, so
Mhm.
it's a 5-star situation. They're constantly recruiting kids,
Yes.
you know, so you've got to compete every day. You're playing for iconic, coach,
Right.
and it's they got to a certain way they do things there. So it's just kind of if you have the mindset and the wherewithal to adapt, then you'll end up playing there. So
Mhm.
he literally earned his way on the floor to they started singing praises, and that was good. And a lot of him, he got his degree, which we're proud of more than
Mhm.
anything. And then he took the COVID year at Oklahoma,
Mhm.
um, and had a good year there. They got jerked around a little bit when the NCAAs came, but he had a good year in the Big 12. So he played in the ACC and in the Big
In
12.
Big 12, yeah.
He had top 10 stats in both. He's in the top 3, I think, in Duke steals all time.
Mhm.
Um, um, he's somewhere around there. Uh, and in Oklahoma, he had great stats at Oklahoma. So he's playing now with the Spurs G League.
Mhm.
So actually, I'm supposed to check him out this weekend. They come play in the Orlando area. So we're gonna fly down there and check him out.
Mhm.
But it was easy.
Nah, interesting. Even as far as you're just saying, a little easy here. So again, obviously, these coaches couldn't sit in your living room and talk a cloud of smoke to you guys in regards to everything here,
Right.
being that you're in it.
Right.
And this time around, you mentioned earlier in regards to your whole situation, or just the guys that I've talked to or females I've talked to, just not knowing those situations, at this time. And
Right.
again, what questions to ask, what things to look for. So to your point, it did sound like it made the whole situation a lot more easier.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. It was easy for me. It was hard for him because
Okay.
I'll tell you why. So because realize I know every college coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are some coaches that wouldn't recruit him because they didn't want to ruin the nature of our relationship.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one problem. Second problem is, oh, this is Courtney trying to push his son on me. So now it's not whether he's good enough or not. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is Courtney coming with me trying to
Mm-hmm.
have me look out for his son. You know what I mean? So we had to deal with
Mm-hmm.
that. Then uh if you look, it's funny, he was never evaluated the way we would evaluate. Like now you go to ESPN and you got your 3 stars and all of that. Well, what happened is he was on a great high school team
Okay.
that had 2, well, it was like 7 like Division I players were on the team.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them were highly recruited, 2 bigs. It was a 6'8" and a 6'9", and they got recruited by pretty much everybody. And then he was the point guard on that team. So what ended up happening was uh, he kind of slipped through the cracks because everybody would just come to see them,
Yes.
some of the other players. So it just kind of like, he was like, okay, he's okay, he's okay. So when it was time to really evaluate him, they just threw a label like, oh, he's a 3-star. So
Mm.
I'm looking, well, okay, he's on the UIBL and he's in the top 10 in steals and assists, and he's shutting down, a lot of guys defensively because he's known as a defender as well. He's shutting a lot of guys down. He's running the team. He's a pure point guard. So his recruiting was everywhere. It was like all over the place. So we're getting calls from like, you know, mid majors, low majors, a
Okay.
lot of high majors. He got calls from like everybody.
Okay.
And then, but like not offers. So there's a big difference. And that's
Right. Right.
then
Right.
everything is like, okay. And a lot of people were like, oh, we need to see him more. Like I was telling you earlier, we need to see him more. We need to see him more. Okay, cool. Well, then we're so for him nowadays, like what I advise is that, hey, you go through summer period, you come home and then you evaluate who you like, who you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
go into your season, and then most colleges want you to sign in November.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because they want to get to their season and not have to worry about recruiting. So the pressure for every college is to make you commit early and sign in November. I'm not big on early commitment.
Okay.
Now you sign in November, but I'm not big on early commitment. So a lot of kids now, they blessed to receive an offer, happy, and then they're committing, a week later. You know what I mean? Like that's every kid in America right now. They want to put it on Twitter, they want to blast it, they want
right.
a little photo edit, and I was telling myself like, yo, act like you've been here before. Like you don't have to worry. If you get an offer, it's cool. Everyone wants to put it out there, but I would say take your 5 visits, which is to me is important. Take 5 visits, and even if you know by the 3rd, it's just an honor to the schools that recruited you. To give them an opportunity to have them sell themselves on you.
Right.
So what happens now is you'll play in the summer. They want you to commit, and then you'll come up, visit campus, come to a football game. All right, so you go to a football game. So now, unless it's what used to be Miami, Florida State, or Michigan, Ohio, or I don't need to go to any other football game. You know what I mean? Like I love football. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a basketball player.
Right.
So bring me up during basketball season. Bring me up for a game that matters. If you're Duke and Carolina, and you're playing each other, and you're recruiting me, bring me up then.
Yeah.
So I can sit behind the bench and listen to you as a coach interact with your current players and decide if I want to play for you or not. Because I need to be in the basketball environment.
That's right.
A lot of that doesn't happen.
Interesting you say that. Yeah.
So what happens is now you get somewhere, because the coach that recruits you is not the coach that coaches you.
Right.
It's a whole different person. So if you don't get to see that in any form or fashion, then you go there and sometimes your experience is miserable. Kids now, they don't have any pays. They're ready to transfer after a week, like they can't deal with that. So for my son, he fell victim to everything I said to you before, that I knew every college coach and they couldn't really put a definitive evaluation on him. Like they liked him, didn't like him enough because he's pretty basic, not flashy, so gets the job done, 10 out of 10. So it's like they couldn't really figure it out. So, I get a call and they would like him. And then, would taper off, or you wouldn't hear back from him again. And then, other calls, then you go have a good game and then schools get involved. So I was like, you know what? I put a depth chart together of all the people, all the point guards in his class. And I realized that like 80 schools had offered like the same 30 point guards.
Okay.
So I said, okay, we're just going to sit back and wait. I said, because you can only choose one school. So all these kids are going to commit early. And then there's going to be a mad scramble when these other schools don't get who they want, because that's me having the blueprint.
Yes.
Every college has a depth chart. This is my number 1 priority, my number 2, and number 3, number 4, number 5. That's how they recruit. So I did the same thing. So when I knew when a kid committed, I said, okay, there's an opportunity here, there's an opportunity there, like that. So, you make a couple of calls here and there, you tell them to come check him out. Or at Norcross High School where he attended, there's college coaches at the gym every day. They'd come through and they'd see him, and that was easy. So we go through our high school season. And Norcross is a powerhouse program down here. It would be East Orange back in the day, we're always at least in the Final Four state championship, in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
So their season is long. So he didn't commit or sign in November, so he's freaking out. Like he's like, yo, where am I going, Dad? What are we doing, the whole 9 yards? Or he's trying to get the offer that he really wants, you know what I mean? So we took a couple of visits here and there, and Duke comes out of nowhere. Like there's this big misconception that, I made calls to Duke and twisted Krzyzewski and all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like there's all kinds of stories. It's hilarious, but because everybody knows I know everybody, but it was really, really a lot of fun going through it for me, but because I knew it would play out for him.
Right.
When Duke comes, I thought it was like just deserving. You know what I mean? I thought it was like, he earned it. So Duke came, and they were very aggressive. They liked them. They said, listen, man, we need a guy that could potentially be here for like 4 years.
Okay.
You know, someone just, you know, everyone's out of here. We can't build it anymore. You know, that was their game plan. They said, hey, we need someone that's going to be here.
Mm.
So, okay, cool. That's good. That could probably work, you know. So they come on. Now we're still dealing with a couple other schools. Kansas, believe it or not, had called and they were recruiting Trayvon Duvall.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically told us, hey, well, if he doesn't come, then, you know, we'll put our focus on you, you know? So we're waiting on that, you know? But there's other schools, small schools, UNLV, Arizona State, a lot of smaller mid-major schools. And the mid-majors are the worst because mid-majors recruit beyond their means. So they're always recruiting a kid that's top 5 in the country, trying to better their program.
Mm-hmm.
We can go to the dance, or we can beat you here or there, whatever. But you know, it takes them hard. Like they can win with good quality kids.
Mm-hmm.
We're always recruiting. So mid-major recruiting high major kids that they're not going to get all the time. Low majors are recruiting mid-major kids, you know. So
see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it's like crazy. So it's you know, it's hard. So when you're in the mix and you're in the bubble like that, a lot of kids slip through the cracks. A lot of kids get lost in the shuffle because you may have been being recruited or recruiting someone else, and then that someone else commits someplace else, and now your focus has to be on someone like my son. So when we got Duke, and then we committed to Duke, you should have seen my phone.
Yeah.
Like colleges were like, yo, you know, what happened? Like, what do you mean what happened? We got recruited and we took an offer, you know?
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, you know, when did Duke get involved? You know, how did that happen? They called, you know, like they recruited him, you know?
Yes.
So we could have been at your school, but you were playing games, you know? So it was a lot of fun for me, honestly, but for my wife and my daughter, my son, it wasn't fit up, you know what I mean? So
the business of all of it,
yeah.
Valleys and peaks, and you know, what I mean, you weed out the BS to someone that's actually genuine and want to move forward with stuff. And speaking of business, what's your thoughts just for AAU? I know you coached it and everything else there, but what's your thoughts just on how AAU is going these days?
I mean, I love it. I playing AAU ball for my days, which was good because I saw your interview with Anthony Advent, a couple of kids, Mark Brown and all that. So like a lot of guys I played with, you know, that was probably, to me, it existed before that, but that was like, to me, like the real inception of gravel ball and playing out of state, you know, against other areas. And we did a lot locally. We did, you know, big, like I did, like back then there was Newark Y.
Right.
There was Road Runners, or there was Jersey Shore, like the 3 entities in Jersey. And Jersey Shore was really, you know, not an option because it was too far south, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then it was, even though it was tough to make those teams back then, you had like, well, what are you doing this weekend? You know, so-and-so can't make it, you know, he's going out of town with the family, whatever. So come on, you know what I mean? Like that. So good opportunities. So like, I think it's great for kids who've never been anywhere to get an opportunity to go play competitive basketball and travel and see, you know, different places. Because, you know, you and I both know some of these kids are not leaving these areas ever.
Yes.
Especially back then.
Mm-hmm.
So to go and travel, Michigan, Florida, you know, Arizona, California, you know, Massachusetts back then was unbelievable. Now you're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a circuit, you know,
yes.
you tour, you know. So, and AAU essentially to most is a loss leader because you invest a lot of money, travel, you know, time, energy, you know, you're on the road. These are big budgets, you know, you're investing a lot of resources, and back then, you know, when the sneaker companies got involved, it was to find the next who's who.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why they did it. They invested and it panned out for them. Well, we know who now. We know who that person is because the internet, social media is giving us a guide. So he's like, hey, this guy, he's really good. Check him out. I think what is it? Zion Williamson had 1 million followers
Mm-hmm.
by the time he got to Duke.
Yeah.
So you know who he is. You know how good he is. So it's not hard to identify that person. But what we used to do in coaching, where the benefit of it is you're helping kids get to school.
Okay.
You're helping kids get an opportunity to get an education and a life experience that could change them and their families forever. So that's what's great about it. I used to have, let's say we had a kid like a Zion Williamson on an AAU team that I coached.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've got 11 other players. So the benefit to me is we know Zion's going somewhere. We know everybody's recruiting him. So I would have to say to Zion's family, hey, while we go out and play all these games, I need you to hold off on your commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Your situation is unique. You can go anywhere you want to go, and the colleges will wait. I want to get these other kids bought and sold, as we say, with scholarship opportunities for them. So the more we play and the longer you stay uncommitted, the more commitments we'll get
for
these kids. So that's how it worked. Now it doesn't work like that. It's let me commit, like I told you earlier. Let me get it done. So like I may have a team with 12 kids and they got a star player and who commits early. Now I'm not going over there anymore. I'm trying to get somebody else, or there's not a reason for me to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, and it becomes the cycle of to me, that's the good part of AAU. The bad part of AAU is that you've got a lot of people who don't know what they're doing. A lot of it's volunteer. College coaches are all over the place when it comes to recruiting, the level of, training and talent and commit. Like there's no prerequisite to be an AAU coach, which some people say that there should be,
Yes.
But I think if you're good natured and you know basketball and this is your way of giving back, I think that's great, no matter what kind of skill set you have,
Yes.
But think about this: you're running a nonprofit, and Nike just wrote you a check for $100,000, or Adidas wrote you a check for $100,000, but you've never balanced the budget. So that can get kind of sketchy sometimes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now, if you're utilizing it all for the greater good of the kids and everyone involved in the program, great. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that money goes into your pocket and you nickel down the rest. You know what I mean? So you got a lot of good and bad when it comes to that. And there's horror stories you've seen with the whole basketball scandal and all of that. There's stuff so that I don't think there's any kind of way that you can like regulate it, so to speak, to that level, but you just kind of have to be selective about what you do. But ultimately, I think it's great. It's great for the kids. It's great for a lot of these communities. Some of these kids, like Mike Miller, former NBA player, is from South Dakota.
Right.
How are you going to find out how good he was, if he didn't play AAU ball and get a scholarship, to play for the University of Florida,
Right.
There's a lot of kids like that. Carlos Boozer is from Alaska.
Yes.
Yeah. So you think about things like that, situations where, how did somebody find him? Let's start there, like you're in Alaska, who's going up to that high school game, Like,
yes.
That's just a travel nightmare in itself, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, definitely, definitely. What, and been involved in sports in any and every capacity here. Like, what have you gotten from sports that sticks with you to this day?
I don't know. That's a good question too. I've gotten a lot of insight, a lot of great relationships. I've accomplished some good things. Like I told you earlier, certain things were a struggle. It hasn't always been good because, like I said, I went out on a leap of faith.
Yes.
Just you know, you tell someone like basketball is your job, and they're like, well, you know, how do you do that? How do you equate that into, you know, making money?
Dollars and cents, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing. So there's a lot. Like I've been a consultant for Nike.
Hmm.
That's a great benefit. You know, I said meeting people, uh, and being, you know, able to connect the dots. You know, in terms of you know, creating business opportunities for yourself has always been fun. Like now, like there are things that I tried to do early on that there wasn't support for,
Hmm.
that are mainstay situations now, where it's like, yo, like I tried to, like, I wanted to do the first high school basketball magazine, and
Mm.
people were, it was always a great idea. Oh, it's great, you know, we can do this. Without, couldn't get the money for it. I remember I put my own money into it, put a little 4-color publication out there. People loved it. You know what I mean? Trying to get advertising behind it. So like, you know, you're trying to sell advertising to something that doesn't exist.
Right.
So that's already hard in itself.
Hmm.
But the opportunities led to other opportunities just by trying to pull it off. So now you don't need a high school magazine because everything's online, you know. But we went online, and that worked for a while. Advertisers paid good money then, you know. Then you had multiple competitions, and then they structured. That's when Rivals got established, and you know, Rivals was able to corner the market and
Hmm.
kind of messed up a lot for individuals, you know. Then you know, we're a visual society right now. You know,
Yes.
everything is, you know, going on. So now you can, like I said, ESPN does a great job. That you can hop on, see the rankings, understand who that person is, who's recruiting him. Um, you know, so that makes things a lot easier than when we would just put out, these are the top 1 players, the top 100 players in the country. You know,
Hmm.
see, now you have to go do your research and figure out who's who, and you know, try to get some information which wasn't readily accessible. So um, that, you know, that, like I said, it's been interesting, but it's been there's been a lot of good. You know, there's you know, it's just a journey, if that makes sense. You know.
Nah, that's what we all are on. I mean, whatever comes with it. Nah, most definitely. Yeah. I know you've seen a couple of these. Kind of some fun on the back end here. Put you on the spot, throw some random, not so random stuff at you here, if that's cool.
Cool. Let's go.
All
Yeah.
right, I'll take you back again. I'm gonna take you up top a little bit here. So,
Yeah. We can go anywhere. Let's go.
cool. So, in Jersey, while in Jersey, Parkway or the Turnpike?
Parkway all day.
All day. Okay.
Turnpike's a mess.
Take you back to your youth here. Great Adventure Action Park.
Mm. Great adventure. Great adventure. Because Action Park, everybody got hurt. It was always a story. Like,
Yeah, there's always
so
something
it
with
was like somebody got hurt.
that.
Oh, like you go and, you know, hey, we got hurt this weekend. I'm like, all right. Yes.
Oh, the club or a block party?
The club.
Yeah,
Cheetahs,
the certain one.
Cheetahs.
Cheetahs, yeah. Right.
I did a lot like Cheetahs. I'm a house head, so
Oh.
I was Cheetahs Thursday, Sunday religiously for a long time.
Yeah,
88 was nowhere from the house. So
Evergreen, yeah.
yes, that was that. And then I did a lot in New York, you know, like back then the most popular days to go out was like on Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, club block parties, sorry,
Yeah.
the club was better, you know, for me.
Nah, cool. Street Smith or Slam?
Slam, because it was more innovative. Street Smith was great, to be honest with you. Slam was innovative because it was like a hip hop take on basketball,
Okay.
which didn't exist. So
Right.
very, you know, innovative, especially at that time. It was definitely needed, and you know, it changed basketball in a lot of ways.
Mm.
So Slam definitely.
White Castles or sandwiches?
White Castles or sandwiches?
Or sandwiches, yeah.
Wow. All right, so I'm gonna tell you. Good. So like if you said White Castles are like Jimmy Buffs, that would be easier. You know what I'm saying? But when I come home, I go to sandwiches all the time.
Yeah.
I literally, I'm Newark Airport, 80, Center Street. You know, I grab a couple of sandwiches. Then I go where I gotta go. White Castles is funny because there's no White Castles in Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife is from the Chicago area, like I said.
Okay.
White Castles in Chicago. And so whenever we're somewhere where there's a White Castles, we do that too.
Okay.
You know, so it's I guess to be honest, I would have to say both to be real.
Okay, nah, that's cool. That's cool.
You
know. Memorial Park or Salvo Park?
Memorial Park, but Salvo, definitely Salvo. Memorial was really good though. Memorial we got it on Memorial. Like it was I was good coming up a little bit at Salvo, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I learned how to play ball. I learned you know, how to get like we had different rules at Salvo too. Like, you know, the rims were lower.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I was telling you, everybody was good back then. So like you learn how to play. The competitive nature was instilled in me at Salvo. But Memorial, you had to be good.
Yeah.
You had to be able to play. You would not get on the court at all, no matter who, what, where. And you had same different walks of life, like, you know, because like I told you, 86, I don't know if we said it before, but like we won the counties in 86. So that was huge because we weren't supposed to win the county.
Yeah.
So everybody leading up to that point, you had all Alden Abbey at Bloomfield, you know, Marco was good there, Kyle Anglin and Fred Matthews. Seton Hall had Franz Volsi, Tom Cook, and TJ Whitaker, you know. Orange was good. Orange had Mike Scott. But all these guys would come to Memorial.
Yeah.
In addition to the older guys that played there as well. So like Mark Bryant, Kelly Boys, all the Irvington guys like Mark Baltimore and those guys, you know, Robert George, Tate George, all of those guys, you know. So we would get on. So like you had to be able to play there. And if like they wouldn't let you on the court there unless you could play. There was no walk up who got next there unless they knew you.
Yeah. No, that's how it should have been. No, most definitely.
That's how it was.
I'm gonna give you 3 options: playing, coaching, or evaluating.
Playing, coaching, or evaluating. I would say coaching is not everybody can do it.
Right. Yeah.
There's some good coaches, some great coaches. Some people are just there. Okay. Coaching is all about decision making, making adjustments. That's literally coaching in a nutshell. They're doing this. How do we negate that? How do we counteract? You have to be able to do that. So that's a skill set in itself. A lot of coaches don't have it. If you notice, there's some that they coach, they're the face, they look good, but there's always an X's and O guy right next to him or a motivator next to him or whatever. So when you're a coach, you're one thing, okay? So whatever that specialty is, that's what makes you who you are, like a Calipari or Coach K or Phil Jackson. You're good at one thing. People around you help you become better, you know?
Yeah. Evaluating
is a skill set in itself that not everybody has, you know? So it's one thing to be able to see, oh, LeBron is great, you know? Like, but to be able to say, oh, this guy, Jimmy Butler, can play and understand that and look at his trek to him getting where he is, to being able to do that and pick people out like that, that's a definitive skill that not everybody has, you know? Playing, I love to play, right? So, you know, if you're on the court and you understand the game. So a lot of people don't understand the game either. They just play. You know, if you understand the game, then you're able to make, you know, plays to win. So you do that and you understand that and you do it at a low level, high level, whatever, that's fun, right? So to answer the question, I would have to say, for me, playing the game would probably be it. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. So
Remember,
that's
no,
fun.
all good. I remember talked about height in your family, and obviously you being tall yourself. Remember the first time you ever dunked?
Yes, I do. Yep. At Sorrel, of all places to say, like Sorrel. Well, dunk period or like dunk like in the games? Is that?
No, you said Saul was the first one. How about in the game?
In the game, it was 8th grade.
Okay.
8th grade, middle school, stealing a breakaway. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Middle school, Hart Middle School. Yep. So
got any bodies you remember? You got anybody that might?
Yeah.
I see them eyes going up. So yeah, you got to. There's a couple.
There's a couple good ones. There's a couple good ones.
That's
well, see,
cool.
you know, the funny thing too is like at Sabro, I've told you the rims were low.
Right.
So there's like, I think they put the rims up and the poles, and then they put the asphalt on after. So it made, however they measured it for 10 feet, it was like 9.5, some crazy mess like that. So
yeah,
guys that couldn't normally dunk on a 10-foot rim could dunk at Sabro. So, you know, you're at Sabro, and again, at that time, talent was coming through there every day. Like Orange, Montclair, you know, all over East Orange, people were coming every day. So it was a big thing. So you're trying to dunk on somebody like every other play.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you get a steal or a backdoor or off the rebound, you know.
Yeah.
And so one time we're playing as a bunch of guys, and, you know, if I call him out, you know, he will dig it up. You'll probably do a interview, just to say, no, he didn't do it. No, he didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? But Franz Volsen. Yeah. And ironically, he was there. He went up to grab a rebound, and I caught it and dunked on him. So I took it out and dunked on him. So
that's what it takes to get him on here. That's all. It's all good. It's all good.
It stands out. You know.
Nah.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it. Well, all right. I haven't seen him talk to him in years, but you know that stands out. You know. But yeah, you know, like I said, it was a lot of competitive basketball back then.
Yeah. So definitely.
First dunk. That's good. I was more of a shooter.
Well, okay. Best game you ever played in your life? Something that might stick out to this day, like, this Elizabeth State tournament. We lost. They cheated us. They cheated us bad. They fouled out our first 7. It's crazy. That's crazy.
Our first 7, and I don't think anybody fouled out. We lost by 1. I think it was like 62, 63. No 3-pointer back then. They made 3-pointer legal in 87 for high school. So we had Troy Glover and myself could shoot. They had a guy named Joey Johnson on their team who was pretty good. Chris Gatlin was on that team, played in for about 12, 13 years. We had Mo Morris was over there, and it was a great game. It's funny, state games are supposed to be at neutral sites. We're playing Elizabeth at the
Dunn Center.
At the Dunn Center. So really, I realized they had the biggest gym in high school at that time. I don't know if there's a bigger gym now in high school, but at that time, Dunn, when they built it, was the biggest gym in the state. You get like 3,000 or 4,000 people in there. The county tournament in Elizabeth, or for Union County, is always in Elizabeth. So I'm playing there, and Mark Gray, who was our best player at the time, he and I are both tall and light skinned. And I remember we were getting deep in the fourth quarter, and Mark already had 4 fouls. And there's a space that's done where, like on one end, it's just like a big walkway in if you've been there. So like at the basket, when you walk through the goal, you can walk in and you can just kind of see like from like a whole, panoramic view kind of.
Yes.
So Mark went up and he blocked Chris got with a shot. And I jumped up there with him too. And the ref called the foul. And it was his 5th foul. But I was the one that hit him. So when the ref came back, he called it on Mark. But Mark was like, no. He's like, I didn't touch him. I was the one that actually hit him.
Okay.
So it was a big thing. But in that game, I had to guard Chris. So I'm giving it to him. I'm like, we're going at it. I'm out rebounding him, I'm giving him, because he was tall, real skinny, but he was really good. He was just long, you know what I mean? Like he's blocking shots, and he was pretty athletic then too. But I had a really good game that game. I ended up fouling out like maybe with about 30 seconds left.
Okay.
But I ended up playing really well. So that's probably my most memorable game. There was some other good game, but that one, because had we won that game, we'd have played Montclair when we went to state. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would have been the sectional final.
Okay.
Because Montclair played Camden in the state championship.
Yeah.
So they ended up beating Elizabeth, and then went on to the state and lost to Camden. So that game, like I said, Earl Flanagan fouled out, Billy fouled out, Mark fouled out, Troy fouled out. Like it was crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sound like it. Yeah. So I'm assuming that's probably the game. If there was a game you had back, it'd be that one, unless it was something else.
Elizabeth was one. Seton Hall games. My junior and my senior. We lost to Seton Hall. Columbia, we lost to Columbia 3 times my sophomore year. I like to have at least one of those.
Okay.
Junior year, we lost to Seton Hall twice.
Yeah.
And then senior year, Seton Hall twice.
Seton Hall twice again.
That would be the ones to get back. The collective, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because you never beat them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's something they could hold over your head forever.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth definitely. I felt we could have beat Montclair that year too, because we weren't supposed to be as good as people thought we were, and that was, if I remember correctly, it was a bad winter.
Okay.
A lot of games were canceled, and so our record, our record is not a full season schedule.
Okay.
Look at it. So like, you'd be like 27 and something, back then or whatever, and we're like 20 and something, just because like a lot of the games that I know we would have won like at that time, because we were Iron Hills, like Caldwell and Livingston, and schools that I know we'd been on regular. That was easy, but then you didn't play. You didn't play like a huge non-conference back then, but we played good schools. Like there was a school back then. It was like one of the original prep schools out in New York called Essex County.
Okay.
And they would come over for some reason and play like all these schools in Jersey. And we played them and we beat them. Like I said, our conference was already good though. Like you're playing Seton Hall, Columbia was good then. We played Barringer in the counties. They were good. They had Ed Williams and Lynn Smith. We ended up beating them. Orange, like I said, was good then. That was, so you had a lot, but we just didn't, I think I said there were a lot of games we didn't make up, but I thought we had a better record too. So no one expected us to be as good as we were.
Yeah.
Winning the county. And we were the first year of the, because back then all the counties were at Walsh at Seton Hall.
That's played over there.
We played at Essex County Community.
They moved it to the county. Okay.
So we were the first game first championship there when they
Mm.
the gym there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, East Orange, your all-time starting five, East Orange High.
Really
It could be positionless too,
positionless. Okay.
to make it a little easier if need be.
That's a good one. It's a lot of guards that were good.
Okay.
To me, if you really look at the nostalgia of East Orange, it's probably more guards than overall. Like there was a lot of good players, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But not a whole lot of height like that. To me, that was big names, you know.
Okay.
And I mean, you know all the names. You've done a lot of this stuff with your podcast, like Mike Dabney and you know Motley and you know those guys. But like Clyde Bradshaw,
Yes.
he would go down. James Gist.
Mm-hmm.
Gist was really good.
Yeah.
That game, I remember being young because we did all the game stuff too back then. When Gist played against Orange, and him and Robert Cole would go at it. That was really fun to watch back then. But Gist definitely. Russell Scott, Sickman, who was actually a tall guy. He was
okay.
We call him Thickman. He was really good. I'd have to throw him in there. Mark Gray was really good. He doesn't get the same accolades as everybody.
Okay.
From back, because like you know, you got like I'm not discounting anybody like Michael Booker and Harry James, you know, guys that were just legends in their own right, and then definitely
yes.
you know, on great teams, you know, Cleveland, Eugene. Like, those guys were great, but like if it was an all East Orange High team, you know, my errors that I saw, you know, like I said, Sigma, Gist, Bradshaw, stand out to me.
Okay.
You know, I saw it's funny. Gary Garland to me he didn't go to East Orange, but phenomenal. Really good. But if it was an all East Orange team, you know what I mean? You definitely have to, you know. I'm missing somebody big too. But yeah, I'd say Gist, Bradshaw, Russell Scott. You know, I have to throw Michael Booker in there for sure, just because you know. And Mark Gray definitely too. Mark Gray,
5.
Yeah, Mark Gray was good. You know, he was a victim of the when the game started to change because you know, he was 6'5", he was really a power forward.
Okay.
And that's when the game was going where 6'5", 6'6", you were two guard now. So his skill set was totally different. It was back to the basket. He was an animal down low, great finisher, you know. Nice mid-range game, you know. Just tough competitor though. Just really tough. So yeah, but that's a good group. Almost all the nostalgia groups that have come out of this, you know.
And I'm gonna go off script as far as with the evaluation and everything that you've done. Who was this completely off the chart to this day, like on a national level, like that you done seen? Who is this somebody that was just off the chart here?
That made it or
either or.
I've seen a lot.
Right.
I've seen a lot in my era, I would say. At 5-star, you saw everybody. That was like, so realize you come from Jersey, you don't think anybody could play anywhere else outside of New York. Because it's like New Yorkers hate on Jersey. So, you know, that was a big thing. So I saw a lot of people at 5-star. Like that's when you saw a lot of Chicago kids.
Okay. Michigan
kids, you know. So seeing guys like J.R. Reed was the #1 player in high school when he was for a big man at 6'10", he had everything. And I saw Lloyd Daniels destroy him.
Yeah.
And Lloyd Daniels was that guy. Lloyd Daniels was, really, really skilled. I could tell you stories that you wouldn't believe, to this day. He's, someone, how like when you're watching the game and the crowd always shout out what you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say, "Oh, make him go left, make him go left." And this guy would shoot left-handed jump shots like in a row. And he look at you like, "Do I still need to go left or what? Can I go back to right now?" He was really good, really skilled. There was Terry Boyd. I think we talked about the Terry Boyd, Mike Boyd's older brother.
Mm-hmm.
Early on to me, I thought he was unbelievable. He's about 6'4", crazy athletic, crazy skilled. I know there was a situation where he like went to work to take care of his mom.
Yes.
But a lot of schools recruited him. He was really good. Watching him early on. There's so many I could go on. I saw Rex Chapman at 5-star.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was this white guy, and so imagine being in the layup line and you see him throw the ball behind the back and do a reverse.
Mm-hmm.
I had never seen a black guy do that at that time. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, I got to follow up behind that. You know what I mean? Like, how do you do that? He was really good. He had it all. He was athletic. He could shoot it. He went to Kentucky. He made the league, whatever. But just watching him and seeing him like in my era, there were a lot of good guys, a lot of good talent, especially that came out of Jersey at that time. I've seen there's a lot of there was a guy named Michael Christian. You could do your homework. Michael Christian went to Georgia Tech.
Okay.
He tore his ACL twice. Okay, so he never, ended up being what he was supposed to be. But if you do your homework, you do your research on Michael, he was out of Denver, Colorado, of all places.
The only person I know out there is Chauncey Billups, but yeah,
right,
I definitely would. Yes, right.
You ask Chauncey about him, right? Chauncey about him. Michael Christian was so good. He was the original, to me, like the original Chris Jackson or Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
That type, he was 6'3". The handle was on a string.
Mm-hmm.
He had about 25-foot range, like off the dribble, like it was nothing. Great finisher, like he just turn the corner and smash on you. And he got, at that time, Georgia Tech was point guard U.
Right.
So he went there. And when he got there, he tore his ACL. And back then that was almost career ending, Or it was really for a lot of it. They didn't have microsurgery back then. So, it was just like, hey, we're gonna go in and scope and hope you heal, So he never was the same. He ended up he finished up at Tulane. He started at Tech, he finished up at Tulane. He was part of that group that they called the posse back then, when they would bring 5 guys on the court at one time.
Okay.
So he was really good. So there was a lot of good guys, that I saw during my era, especially from around the way. I think Kerry Hodge that went to Clifford Scott. Kerry Hodge was another one. He was, phenomenal talent. Just didn't pan out. A lot of guys, man. Then like the stuff that I'm trying to give you more guys that could have made it, didn't, than guys that actually made it. But Lloyd to me would be the best in my era. That song that was just unbelievable. He silenced all the critics. His biggest problems were off the court, obviously. That's been well documented. But he was 6'8", really skilled. Just had an understanding feel, because like back then everybody was trying to emulate Magic Johnson. because that was, fresh
Yes.
new, and
Yes.
you saw Magic, you like, whoa, like, so he had all that. He kind of was like early stages Penny Hardaway, that type thing.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Penny, but
Mm.
it's just a phenomenal talent.
Yeah. You don't saw people and helped people out throughout your whole career in one capacity or another here, but this one's more about you. What's the best part about being you?
I don't know. That's a good one too. You
Mm-hmm.
got good questions. Um, I enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy family, and helping people.
Yeah.
And so it's just good nature was how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can do anything for anybody and it's within my power, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And kind of like, you know, that's more endearing to me than anything else you could do.
Mm-hmm.
You can help someone else. Um, I've got a beautiful wife, good kids,
Mm-hmm.
family, you know,
Yes.
great family support as a whole, big family on both sides. Um, I think, mom and dad did a good job of instilling certain values like that in me. So the best part about being me is I would just say that, like, I love helping people and helping others.
Yeah. How about best part about being a dad?
Dad stuff is not easy.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it, love it.
Yeah.
Man, kids, boy, they will. Whew, love my kids, man. My kids are hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
They're they're good. They're good. But this, like, this generation of kids, as they say, everybody's grown,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do something responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, I'm growing. No, okay, all right, cool. Well, show me. Um,
Yes.
but the dad stuff is tough because you live in the vein of, you don't want to be your parents for the
Mm-hmm.
longest time until you're actually a parent, and then
Yes.
you have that moment that you realize, okay, yeah, I'm acting like my parents. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you have that moment, it's funny. And then
Mm-hmm.
you say, like, my kids and my wife will tell you I overreact because I'm very matter of fact and direct to the point. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's just like, well, you did what? And I'm on 10 already.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, can you hear the whole story first? Can you hear this?
Yeah.
I've never been a parent like when you say, oh, your kid did this, so and so. So I look at them first, like, well, what'd you do? Like, I've never been like, no, it's not my kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, what'd you do first? Then we can handle the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like, you try to raise your kids with, everyone wants to be better than the situation that they had before.
Yes.
Life, that's natural progression. So you try to instill values, and you know, I tell people now, like, you can't even have an argument anymore because everything is Google.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yo, like, you heard what Ibn said? You go home and you tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, oh, right
Yeah.
here. Take a look.
Right. Right.
Take it
Right.
right here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're definitely wrong. So
Yeah.
it's so with the kids, that I think they're the same way. They're like, they know everything. Like, every kid nowadays in millennial, post millennial, all of that, they know everything. You can't tell
Mm-hmm.
anything. So that's the hard part about being a dad sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Book on your life. What would you call
a book on my life, huh?
it? Book on your life.
Uh Undervalued.
Interesting.
Undervalued. That
Mm.
I would probably sum it up the right way.
Uh,
That'd be a whole nother story though. But yeah,
okay. Nah.
undervalued. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That would work for me.
Yeah. At this point in your life, I expect a whole lot more living, but just to think back, what advice would this Courtney at this time in your life, would you give that 17, 18-year-old senior in high school? What advice would you give that Courtney?
Um good. I mean, I could probably give that Courtney a lot, you know,
Yeah.
just how the structure of doing things the right way
Hmm.
and finishing the project. Like when I decided to do certain things, yeah, I probably should have kept the mindset of, okay, I'm going to do this until this takes off the way I need it to, rather than just jumping in. You know what I mean? I'm the risk taker.
Okay.
I've always been it. So like, 90% of the world is conservative. You know,
Mhm.
like they'll no, like if you're up, you have all kinds of friends in the world.
Mhm.
Down and
Yeah, where they at? Right.
know,
Yeah.
so for me, I've always been the risk taker. So when
Hmm.
I'm a risk taker and you get the reward, everybody's around.
Hmm.
You know? So what I probably would have done was just add more structure to my risk taking
Got you.
so that it would
Hmm.
be more calculated, as opposed to just doing it.
Hmm.
I'm I'm impulsive, so I'll just like, hey, sounds good. Like, cool, let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know. So
Mm. Now, I know you. I know
sorry,
you're. No, no, no. We good. I know you mentioned your parents earlier here. What would they say about you?
my parents,
Yes.
um, they they both been proud mom and dad.
Yeah.
They always very supportive,
Hmm.
very very you know like um just like my father was very direct, very old school,
Hmm.
approach to just about anything. Um, Different. He was the hardworking, dad that he wasn't like the hey, let's go do this
Hmm.
type of dad. You know what I mean? He just
Hmm.
worked. You know what I mean? And he was big. He was a big fan sports and the whole nine. Like he did certain things like that. So he instilled a lot in me like early
Yeah.
on that way. Mom was more backbone, more hey, you need to do this, get your education, you know, um, and try to broaden your horizons like this and that. You know what I'm saying? But still old school too. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So but they, like I said, they would be proud, especially having the kids and grandkids, like that.
Yes.
They were always really big on that. So like I said, we family environment, so
Mm.
that helps. So they'd be happy.
And my last one here, as far as in your household, everybody in their athletic prime, who's the best athlete in your house?
Oh, they gonna all tell you my son right now. You know what I'm saying? I would have to argue, but they all gonna say my son.
Mm.
You
Hmm.
know, somebody in my immediate house or just in
Media. Yes.
they'll say him. They'll
This,
say him.
what would you say?
I don't know. My era, I always tell him I would give him the business.
Oh,
So
okay.
if he meets anyone that knows me from back in the day, that knows from playing
Hmm.
and all that, he always gets. So he's always like, "Oh, don't boost it, don't make it any worse," because I got to hear from him anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With me, because I always compare like high school teams from back then, high school teams now.
Hmm.
And there's really good high school teams now. I was like, like some of y'all wouldn't have beat any of our teams back then. You know what I mean? But more
Yeah.
more competitive. More structure,
Hmm.
more fundamental. Like now everything is pull it out 1-4 or and one. But more like this, the athleticism of kids today is more profound. But it's the league itself is no longer athletic. It only helps you if you are.
Mm.
It's more skill set fundamentals. You don't leave the game like, oh, Kyrie dunked on somebody. Like,
Hmm.
oh, Kyrie had 40. Or
Hmm.
Steph Curry had 40. Like so it's a different skill set, different game. We don't play with our back to the baskets anymore. So nowadays when you're comparing errors and things like that, you have to factor all that in.
Yes.
So it's hard. Like I was 6'5", I could jump probably a little. I wasn't fast, but
Hmm.
I was really fundamental because back then you had to have it. You had to have a left hand. You had to, be able to use the glass. There were no floaters.
Hmm.
Like it didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? We had like now I get mad because a kid will grab a rebound and he'll dribble full speed and all he wants to do is Euro step.
Yeah.
And in a minute, he's basically like, there's more Euro steps that don't happen. All you hear is the crowd go, ooh, and he didn't score.
Mm-hmm.
He ran somebody over, you know what I mean? You know, he turned the ball over, you know what I mean? Then it's like, why are we doing this? You know, why don't we just dribble down and jump stop and pull up?
Mm-hmm.
Or why don't we curl around and go to the basket? You know, so like those fundamentals were instilled. Like you dribble 3-on-2, 2-on-1, you dribble to the foul line, you pulled up or you made a pass.
Made a move, right?
Now we're gonna do the Euro and see what happens, you know? And so that to me, like it's as useful as it can be, which it's only great in the perfect setting.
Mm-hmm.
So if it works, then it's you know. But when it doesn't work, it's like you jump stop, you're off balance. Let's see, you ran somebody over. You know, I can't even tell you how many times that happens during the course of a game. Just watch the NBA right now. Everybody's trying to Euro, so it's like that stuff like that. Like we're shooting threes, you know, which I actually love long distance shots, but you know, we're not looking to throw the ball. So all the big men. I saw a skit the other day where they were trying to get somebody throw the ball down low, and because he was taller than the person, the guy was like, "Oh no!" He took the ball, he drove back out to shoot a three. And I was dying laughing, but like that's literally what it is.
You know? Yeah. A lot of truth to that. Now,
and not that we have to just go down low, but I still think it's effective.
Yes.
Know? So that's the thing. So
yeah. Courtney, thank you. I can't thank you enough here. Like I said, just hearing, you know, again, a lot of people when their career get done, if you're talking about sports, any type of thing, they don't ever fall back into it in some other way here. You don't found the way to turn into your own business, turn it into a life as far as, and you just mentioned a couple of times, is taking that leap of faith. That for me can't be more inspirational than anything here. You just take a leap, and again, obviously, should some stuff be calculated? Yeah, but maybe not neither. And obviously, like I said, you know, turned into a career here, and just hearing this, and you know, you from my neck of the woods, like, you know, that's even better in regards to all
you're
of
from
that.
East Orange?
Orange next door there, right next door. I'm from Orange. Yeah,
But I think you said you went to Immaculate, right?
I went to Immaculate, correct. I went to Immaculate here. So, but just to hear this, thank you for just taking time out and, you know, sharing these few minutes with me here. Like I said, I cherish these moments here, especially those that I get a chance to meet for the first time or what have you. So hopefully it's not the last time. But I just wanted to say thank you for everything. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. This is I have to say you have a great platform. You know, you resurrected a lot of great basketball stories. You know, Essex County basketball, which I think is great. I've told people that for years and years and years.
Yes.
It speaks for itself, and just watching, you know, the platform. Like, yeah, I got to do this. Like, this is great. You know what I mean? So. I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Nah, definitely. And I definitely be in touch. And again, like continue health and everything else with the family and everything, and enjoy it all.
No, thank you. Likewise.
All right. I'll be in touch. Take care.
All right. Take it easy, man. Thank you.
All right. Wow. The joys of doing this here, Courtney. I appreciate this. Like I said, just have an opportunity to hear you walk. Everything that came with it here. You know, like I said, the joys of getting to meet individuals such as him here. I'm gonna step away on that. With that being said here, I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.